It's been 7 days since news broke that Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, planned to spearhead a national prayer session to address the country's numerous challenges. A story that the First Lady has now debunked. Now, this is coming on the heels of seeking divine intervention in solving the country's insecurity and social and economic challenges by concerned Nigerians.
Now, 5 days after the announcement, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, has called on Nigerians to join a 40-day prayer starting from January 6, 2025 and ending with a national prayer gathering in Abuja on February 14th, Valentine's Day 2025. The aim is to address the hardship facing the country and to seek divine intervention for relief and prosperity, as mentioned by PFN President Bishop Francis Wale Oke. The increased calls for intervention worry a section of the populace who think our problems are bare and wonder why we always resort to divine intervention without nipping the crisis in the bud.
Issues concerning corruption with anti-graft agencies have not yielded results due to political infiltrations. Multiple policies have heavily impacted the cost of living, while jumbo salaries and living la vida loca continue at the helm of power. How else will our leaders learn if they fail to make the needed changes here on earth as it is in heaven? Well, these are a few assertions emphasized by some Nigerians. And to speak on this, we're joined by the chairman of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, Lagos chapter, Mr. Yemi Davies. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you as well. Yeah. So as we continue to navigate the intersection between faith and politics, we often would hear criticism leveled against spiritual leaders for ensuring that they're always praying for Nigeria and that, they're always putting the nation in prayer. So the question now is, why is it important to pray for Nigeria? Shouldn't we maybe place more priority, according to some, on holding leaders to accountable than pray?
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, I think it's the way we define the prayers. Okay, prayer is not supposed to be an end in that sense, like an irresponsible way of putting things to God to just do. And I think that's a challenge we're having. Instead of us tackling the challenges we have, we just want to say, okay, God, just come and do this, just come and do that, and it will never happen. And I think we should know that that will never happen. I think prayer should be a means to an end. Yes, the things are so complicated and so complex. I mean, I've been in this country for more than 4 decades. I've seen the same story, again and again. And somehow you just want to say, God help. But the way I think God will help is giving you the right steps to take. Like a download. So you go to God, okay, this thing is complex. This thing is out of order. What should we do? Then God gives you like steps to take. We call it strategy that will make things work. So my thinking is prayer, as much as we publicize prayers, we should talk more about what steps we want to take to make things happen. After you've prayed, to download things. Look at people like Joseph in the Bible or Daniel. It wasn't just the prayer. The prayer was a download. And then there was a download for Joseph that, okay, let there be this economic strategy of reserving 20% for 7 years. And that worked. So I want to hear of strategic economic, ideas coming from the prayers, how to tackle insecurity problems. So the prayers is not an end. I think that's where we might be missing it. It's a means to an end. If the government wants to pray, fine. But after the prayer, I want to hear, okay, we're going to do this for medium businesses, small-scale businesses. We want to cut the cost of governance and do this and do that so that we can, plow those monies into more palliatives. We want to hear some very specific steps from the download, not just handing everything to God, that God should just come and turn the country around.
When you be clear on what you mean by the download. What exactly is the download? Are you saying that after this 40-day prayer starting in January, sometime on the 14th of February, there would be some revelation, as to what must be done for Nigeria?
For the Pentecostal Fellowship, it's a whole bag in the sense that we're going to be 40 years next year. So it's part of the celebration. So it's beyond just praying for Nigeria. The Pentecostal body of Nigeria will be 40 years in 2025. So part of our celebration activities is to pray, okay? We're praying for Nigeria, which I think we need. What I'm saying is, after the prayers, we keep bringing up steps that we're going to take to help with the nation. Now, I believe the Pentecostal body has been doing a whole lot, even before now. Unfortunately, we have some deficiencies in terms of communicating the things we do. So it looks like we're only praying. No, the churches in Nigeria are doing more than praying. We're doing a lot to step into the gaps of the failure of leadership. It's a big crisis, and unfortunately, the church has not been communicating, perhaps because of the Jesus' injunction that when you're helping somebody, you don't have to tell everybody you're helping the person, and I think we've taken that to an extreme. So I think going forward, while we are praying, we should also communicate what we're doing to help businesses. I mean, in our church, for instance, virtually every week, we're spending millions helping with feeding alone. But you don't want to come and show people's faces on TV and feeding this person. There should be some dignity even when you're helping people. But I believe that the church, we need to communicate more going forward. We're helping a lot with community transformation. We're helping a lot with education, scholarships. It's a whole lot. So I feel that balance would help us not to see prayer as an excuse, in that sense, not to see things change practically.
I mean, it's important to do a lot of work in that regard because, I mean, that's one of the hallmarks of the Christian faith, being able to stand for each other, having a community, looking out for each other, giving to the poor. But I think one other area that the church has faced a lot of criticism and spiritual leaders will be in the area of holding political office holders accountable. And the accusation that has been leveled against the church is how sometimes the church does give platform to these political leaders and looks away and maybe not speaks up as often as they should. So how much would you say, or how involved should religious leaders be when it comes to issues concerning politics, policy development, and also calling out corruption where necessary? And should they even give these politicians a platform?
Yeah, I think there should be a balance to that, in the sense that, Scripture says we should honor those that honor is due. But I also believe that we should speak truth to power, right? I believe that. I believe. My only concern is Nigerians' problem is beyond just the political leaders. I think it's us ourselves, because the leaders are not dropping from the moon. They're from us. So if you talk about this person today, when somebody else gets there, the same thing happens. And that doesn't really resolve it. I think the main issue, or the main thing that I think the church should do, and I think we are focusing on that much more, is proper mind shift. And I think churches have that platform weekly, Sunday, midweek services, training the people, teaching the people. Because if you don't shift the mindset, then you'll just be forever talking. Because after this election, a new crop will come in, whether it's from the north or from the south or from the south-south. It's the same Nigerians that get into power. And these Nigerians are the people we see every day on our streets, in our neighborhoods, in our churches, in various places. So I think much more than talking to, speaking truth to power, is educating the people. There has to be a cultural shift. An average Nigerian needs to change. I won't lie to you. The way we think, people, if young people, say not too young to rule. We have some younger people in power now, and they're misbehaving. So you ask yourself, if the older ones are misbehaving, younger ones are misbehaving, then it's a cultural problem. Corruption has become a culture. So I feel, what PFN is poised to do going forward is educating people. We have to focus on telling the people the truth. Beyond people in government, the people we are leading, that we speak to daily, weekly, so that when that same person gets into power, at least we can have some measure of shift.
But do you also understand when Nigerians push back against some of these prayer sessions that are themed Prayer for Nigeria? Is there an understanding from the PFN and other religious bodies, when people say that we're tired of praying, we've been praying for so long, nothing seems to be different, So is there an understanding in the church that Nigerians are tired of anything themed prayer for Nigeria in distress? If you attend the Catholic Church, or anything that has to do with praying for Nigeria?
Yeah, I agree with you. I said it earlier. I think the communication seems lopsided. So if you say you're going to fast for a number of days, it's fine. But I think we also needed to have said many other things that will be done to help people see that, oh, it's not just about prayer. We're helping with these palliatives. We're also tasking government to do this. I think the area for me, it's more communication, because we're doing a lot. So we are doing a lot. For instance, there was flood in Borno State. I know the PFN sent tens of millions to help out. But I don't see it in the news media. And maybe we didn't communicate it the way we should, but we're hearing about the 40 days of prayer. That's what I mean by more communication. So if you hear the things being done by the church, I mean, we had a conference in Lagos, and I said, for Lagos especially, where I have some measure of influence, that we want to communicate what churches are doing regularly, so that when you hear about prayer at all, it's maybe just a little portion of it. But all these things are happening. I know a lot of churches are stretched. We're not the government in that sense. Yes, we preach the gospel, we offer hope to people weekly, which is a lot. It seems intangible, but it's a lot. I mean, I've had people in our church send me emails, say, thank God for church, oh, my head is a bit okay. That mental health, that you have people you can fellowship with, you can grade, and some statements made, which we call sermons, that give you hope and help you to live through the week. It's intangible, but it's a whole lot. So we shouldn't look at prayer as something that is irrelevant. We're not just praying for the government, we're also praying for the people. But I think the area we need to work on more is communication, so that it doesn't appear like it's just prayer they're praying. The country needs more solutions.
Right. I mean, thank you for really highlighting those points. I think another angle would be to ask, does it feel like the church is being picked on a lot? Does it feel like the church is in some measure under attack with, a number of the darts that are being thrown? It feels like, I mean, I've heard a number of people who would react to certain statements that have been made. An example would be when Peter Obi went on the podcast and talked about, turning vigils to night shifts and ensuring that there's more productivity. There were a number of Christians who interpreted that as him attacking the church and saying that the church will still thrive and continue to do what it needs to do, and that's some sort of an attack. There were others who said this was just mischief at its finest, and that people were just misinterpreting what he was saying. So I don't know if you saw the clip and if you have any thoughts on that, and also to add, if you do think that the church is under any form of attack.
Yeah, well, I think it's mixed feeling for me, because I won't say it's an attack. I see it as seeing us as the light, okay? If they are expecting certain things from you, that means the potential is there, okay? Maybe you want to also take it as a responsibility, and we are the light anyway. The night vigil thing, that's the list of our problems. In Dubai, for instance, on a Friday in Dubai, you realize that they shut down just to pray. That doesn't affect their productivity. So I don't think night vigil is a problem. How many churches do vigils every day? The mainline denominations that we all know, very few do vigils daily. Where's even the diesel to do vigil every day? Yeah, there are some churches that do that, but that's highly insignificant. So so when people say it was like an attack, I think the way it came out from Obi, it wasn't what he intended to say. I think it was just talking about productivity. So we could flip it, that if there are more jobs, okay, people will be productively engaged. But it's not the church that produces the jobs. I've been to countries where you work in the night. You can't have night shift without adequate security. It's not the church that provides security in that sense. So if those things are in place, then people will be productively engaged. And if I have a work to do that is a night shift, and if I now choose to go for a vigil and they fire me, that's my own foolishness. But to now say it's the night vigil that is affecting the productivity, we need to think again. No. If there are enough, as I mentioned about Dubai, you have security, you have adequate power supply, the systems are working. So even if they have to shut down on a whole Friday, it doesn't affect their productivity as a nation. So,
do you think those who interpreted it as an attack on the church, and they were even warning Peter Obi, that the Christian faith will not support him any longer? I think one pastor said, do you think that was you know, intentionally misinterpreting what he said, or they just didn't understand it at all?
I think it's also the way the media, you know, just pushed it out. And I think it came out not the best, you know. Obi has a passion for productivity. It's fine. We all want that. Everybody wants development. Whether you're Muslim, Christian, or atheist, we want development. But you now don't zero it in on a particular tribe or religion. Productivity is productivity, okay? Provide roads. So I think the statement should have been more about, we want to have more people to be more productive so they can attend to their jobs and do more things rather than wasting time doing certain things. So I don't really see it as an attack. I think it's just that it should have been better framed.
Okay. Yeah. But as we count down to 2027 elections, I think the final question would be taking a cue from 2023 elections. We saw that religion and tribe were major dividing factors. How can we as a nation navigate these very, very delicate lines and ensure that we don't see a repeat in 2027, or are we not even ready for that?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very painful. I lead people in church. We have different tribes, different affiliations. And the question we must ask each other is, what do we really want? We want good roads, water supply, education, proper infrastructure, security. Everybody needs that, whether you are a Christian or a non-Christian, whether you are this tribe or that tribe. If we agree on that, then we'll see the foolishness of trying to shoot down a particular tribe or fight each other. We need to face the main thing. Look, there are great engineers and there are corrupt engineers. In every tribe, there are great people in every tribe, and there are very horrible people in every tribe. So it's not about one tribe is better than the other. So we need to tell ourselves the truth. And I encourage pastors or leaders, people that have the opportunity of conversing with people weekly, let's educate our people. You're not fighting the other person. It's infrastructure, it's national transformation we need. Okay, so whether you are white or blue or this or that, just be a blessing to the people you are leading. Whatever portfolio you have been given at the local government level, state level, or federal level, be a blessing to people. People should be glad you came. People should be thankful that you are a blessing, not a problem. I think that's the main focus we should have. And with that education that needs to permeate even the media space, it will douse that tension. It will douse it. It should douse it if that takes place.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We've had a conversation about the role and the intersection between faith and politics in Nigeria. Looking at the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, we've had the chairman with us and also the lead pastor of Global Impact Church, Pastor Yemi Davies. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right.